Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of the fundamental principles of both recovery and successful living or business discipline. Not about punishment, it's about developing the character consistency required to live the life we're called for. Discipline is training, it shapes our minds, molds our habits, and refines our moral character. We're not here for our habits, we are what we choose to become over and over again. In other words, we're granted a daily reprieve based on what we decide to do. Every morning, we have the opportunity to wake up to be the best version of ourselves. All we have to do is make a conscious decision. So let's begin by setting our intention for today. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what brought me here today? Why did I stop scrolling and continue listening? More importantly, what do I feel when I hear the word discipline? Whether it's resistance, curiosity, or readiness. Honor where you are. Our job today isn't to be perfect, it's to be present. I'll share with you what I think of when I hear the word discipline. It actually brings a very warm feeling. It takes me back to around 10 or 11 years old. I was very active in sports, and God gave me the gift to be able to excel in sports and in school. And my dad was at a game, and we would go home and we would review the game. He would tell me what I did well, what I didn't do well, and what we need to work on in the weeks ahead. And we had this long talk one day. I must have been about a year into roller hockey. And I made the starting lineup. I was doing well, so I thought. But there's a little inconsistency in my efforts. And he sat down and he was like, son, you have talent, but you lack discipline. And it didn't hurt me or trigger anything because I knew it wasn't my behavior. I was a good student. I was an altar boy and a Boy Scout. I said please and thank you. I pulled a chair out. So I know it wasn't my behavior. And I also knew my father loved me. And I knew that what he saw in me was what I wanted to see in me. Now he wasn't seeing it, and that was a lot of my challenge throughout life, is not seeing in me what others see in me. So I learned gratitude that day. And I look back at it now, and just as I'm sharing this, I'm realizing that when people tell you these things, they tell you them because they do see something in you that you're not seeing. And if my goal is to become the best version of myself, the version that others see, I have to have the discipline to do the things necessary so that I can create that opportunity. We often confuse discipline with punishment or rigidity, but real discipline is none of those things. It's not about perfectionism or shame. It's about creating a structure that supports the life you want to live. Think of it as a framework that helps your future self succeed. Imagine you're building a house, right? First of all, you need a good foundation, and then you need the frame that's going to be able to hold the kind of home you want to live in. And that's what discipline is. It's going to create this framework for you to operate in so that you can consistently show up as the best version of yourself. So that your team, your family, your loved ones can have a certain amount of confidence and comfort and feel safe with who they think is going to show up every day. Because there's nothing worse than sitting there and wondering who's going to come through that door. Is it going to be easygoing? Let's build together. Let's get creative. Let's hold each other accountable. Let's build relationships, leader. Or is it going to be flipping the table, throwing things across the desk? I'm exaggerating, of course, but we've all been there. And that kind of insecurity is not a great way to build success. Here's a key distinction. Willpower is short term. It's that burst of energy, that rush of adrenaline, that feel good, that pat on the back you do when you resist temptation, right? When you sit there and you don't order the dessert, or you don't get the beer, you don't stop at the bar, you don't spend the money, right? That one moment when you're sitting there going back and forth with yourself and you feel that frenetic energy, you're like, oh my God, this would be so awesome if I did it right now. The desire for instant gratification. And then you walk away. There's a burst of energy, and there's an endorphin release because you were in it. Discipline, on the other hand, is long term. Right? It's the habit that you practice that makes you feel the right choice is natural. That you don't have that rush, that upward swing, and then that downward plunge. Your dopamine levels aren't going through, all over the place. The right choice just feels natural. And there's peace in that. And there's confidence in that. And there's strength in that. When you rely solely on willpower, burnout is inevitable. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. You're winning, you're losing, you're winning, you're losing, you're beating yourself up. Discipline builds resilience. Discipline helps you create that constant ability to do the right thing, to make the right choice so that you show up the best version of yourself. Look at it this way. Willpower is a match. You strike it and you get a quick flame, but it dies fast. I remember when I was pledging my fraternity in college, we used to have to light the match, hold it upside down, and recite the Greek alphabet, before it burned our fingers. But the key things, we got burnt, right? Discipline is a furnace. It requires some setup, but once it's burning, it fuels your whole house. You can hold your hands over in front of that furnace and stay warm. Not only does it warm your hands, it warms everyone around you, all your loved ones. Don't chase sparks. Build a furnace. All right, let's walk through a framework that you can use. Right? It all starts with awareness, and I often like to replace, when I'm talking about accountability, I replace it with the word awareness, because that's all it really is being aware of where you are at the moment and what you can do better or what you can continue to do well. So, you take awareness. What's missing structure in your life right now? What's missing structure in your business? What's missing structure in your relationship? And then you find alignment. What connects your values to your recovery of whatever that missing piece is? So what's missing structure? Let's say I'm showing up late to work every day. I'm making my team wait, and the day starts off long and no one's able to get their things done. So what connects your values to that piece? Well, I value a good business. I value my reputation. I value reliability. So if you value that, all right, so then that's the one discipline that you have to start addressing. Activation. What's the one thing that you can do daily to build that habit? What's the one thing that you can do daily to come in more prepared? To be there before everyone else gets there? What's the one thing that you can do in your routine so that you're not running around at the last minute, or you're not coming in a whirlwind of frenetic energy? And then adjustment. What weekly review will help you stay on track and pivot when needed? Look at the game tape. Be kind, but be real with yourself, right? And what I love about this is it starts with awareness or accountability, and it ends with awareness or accountability. Because in order to make that adjustment, you have to know where you are, and what the gap was. Remember, small hinges swing big doors. Figure out what we can do today on a regular basis. One thing, implement it, look back, and see how it's improved. All right, here are some of the tools that have worked in my recovery so much that I apply them to all my affairs, and I've applied it to the clients that I work with, and we've had tremendous success. Set up your morning and evening routines. I schedule the last 20 to 30 minutes of my day as planning my day out for the next day. Once I started doing that, I started noticing there were less nights of the week that I was waking up at 3 a.m. with my mind spinning out of control, trying to figure out what I was going to do for the next day. You know, we used to do that in the military. We'd have the plan of the day was written out the night before, so we knew what we were walking into. And it was down to the last detail. And that's what I do. At the end of the day, I write down what time I want to wake up, what time I want to work out, what time I want to attend the meeting, what time I want to leave for work. And then I write down what time I'm going to make my calls, how many conversations do I want to have. And I do that throughout the day, and I get it. You know, man plans and God laughs, right? Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. However, I found that by doing this, I can set up my morning routine that gives me the peace and the space so that I can respond in an appropriate manner when things go left. So, my evening set up, I get a good sleep, and my morning routine gets set up. I wake up, I pray, I meditate, I go to a meeting, and I work out. I don't eat because I do intermittent fasting, and then I make sure they're on the way to work. I listen to something educational, spiritual. When I get to work, first couple of calls I make go to colleagues, accountability partners, fellows, just to kind of have some love in the morning. I'm single besides my cats. You know, I can't tell anyone I love them as I leave the house. And what I'm finding out, you know, like I said, throughout the day when things go left, I have space. I can pause and I can respond in an appropriate manner. I have accountability partners and awareness partners. I allow my team to hold me accountable in projects. And I check in with my accountability partner on a weekly basis, and we review what worked and what didn't work. And I've learned to say no. That, to me, besides help, for me, that was the second hardest word to say in my life. But I've learned to say no, and I've learned to say no without guilt. It's a full sentence, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And probably, you know, this is what started the whole thing, but once I've learned to apply that in all my affairs, it's really helped out and it helps my clients as well. Replace the reactive habit. Right? Initially, my reactive habit was I'm going to drink over it, right? And that didn't help anything. Then it became, you know, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work longer hours. I'm going to throw myself more into it, but that created burnout. Then it was yelling, banging doors, eating, right? All these reactive habits, they make numbers for the second or the moment, but it's not healthy. So I replaced those reactive habits with responses. I choose not to react. And if I can choose not to react in the moment, I can respond accordingly. Right? Reaction is the match. Response is the furnace. Reaction is you're not thinking. It's that first thought, and I don't know about you, but most times in a situation where I have to react, the first thought is not a good thought. I'm not responsible for it, but I could swipe left and I could wait for that responsive thought. And if I do that, more than not, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Resolution comes, and I actually grow from it. All right, now that we've discussed, the framework and all these different ways in which we can approach discipline as a principle in our lives, let's think about something. What one behavior will change your life if done daily. That's that one thing. If I just did this once a day, it would change my life. When and how will you do it? How much longer do you want to exist where you are in that state, in the gap? And then who will hold you accountable? Who are you going to make aware? Who do you feel comfortable with to be vulnerable and say, hey, this is what I need to do? And I'm going to check in with you once a week, or will you check in with me once a week to make sure that I'm doing it? Write it down. And then commit to 1 week. Take a look back at that week. See how you felt. I assure you, you're going to see a difference. I'll end with this. Abraham Lincoln said, discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And when I look back in my life, anytime that I chose immediate gratification, it was so polar opposite of what I wanted most. And it usually wasn't the best thing for me and those around me. Now, when I say the word recovery, please don't let it scare you or turn you off or trigger anything. It's just recovering from whatever situation was causing that lack of structure. And the recovery gave you life in your business, life in your relationship. For me, it gave me my life back, and in my business, it gave my business and my career a life. And discipline sustains it. I want to thank you for staying with me on this journey, allowing me to share this with you. Hopefully, it helps you and those around you and those you lead. But I know it's helped me today. So thank you very much. Namaste.